Hello YouTube. This week I think what I'm going to do is go and get some of the small tasks done that have been hanging over our head. I think what I'll do is put all the shift linkage in here as much as I can, so I'm not doing it with the body on. And then the next thing I'm going to work on is the exhaust clearance. After that, we'll see what happens. This bushing came out in the disassembly, but we have to take this old bushing out. The new bushing should just push in. Well, it should. Of course, it's going to be the one I can't get to. It doesn't need a lot of effort, it just needs to, it's in a bad spot to try to put the pressure on. There we go. The next thing we'll do is take a little grease and put it on the inside of the bushing. Don't need a lot, just some. I'm going to push most of it out when we put the rod in. Okay, and this is silicone grease. This is not petroleum-based grease, so it won't attack the plastic. Then we take the rod and slide it through with a little persuasion. Take the excess grease off the end. There's 3 washers and a clip that go on the inside here. There's the normal washer. Then there's a little wavy washer that's going to be a friction washer. We're going to put a little grease on that. A flat washer, and then there's a retaining clip. Next comes the shift control link, and the shift rod goes right in there, so we want to put a little grease there. And this is the selector, so we want to put a little grease on that tab. And it slides in right here. And it slides in until you get everything lined up. And by everything I mean the hole in the end of the selector rod and the notch in the gear selector. Slide the cotter pins in, slide the retaining pins in, and now we have to put cotter pins in the bottom here. Alright, that's the easy one. Holy smokes. Now I got to get one in the back. We have succeeded in putting the cotter pins in the bottom of the pins. They're not going to come out. This is not coming out. Next thing is the gear shift. Now the manual doesn't show a washer here, but there was a washer here when I took it apart. So I'm going to put it back on. The other thing is this nut may want to go in the other direction. This is a conical nut, and there is a conical recess in the shifter. And I don't think that washer belongs there. I think this nut's supposed to go on here like this because it's not a lock nut. And it just goes on like that. Now we tighten it. Now they have a notch here in the center of the shaft that you can put a 7/16 inch wrench on, and then we just tighten this down. And theoretically, we have shift, and we do. 4-wheel high, 2-wheel high. Neutral. All right, I have to take that rod off when we put the body on. It has been powder coated gloss black, but we can move on to the next task. We have a number of issues with the clearance in the exhaust system. This one is in between the down tube and the engine mount. If we go further back, we have a clearance problem between the exhaust pipe and the frame. And then we have another clearance problem between the gas tank and the tailpipe. So I think what we should do is take the rear off and just work on this front part first. Notice what happens when I lower this pipe. I now have clearance in the frame and clearance around the gas tank. So maybe that's a clue as to what we need to do with this pipe. But let's continue working on the front pipe. Because of the configuration of this hanger here, I have to leave the muffler on the catalytic converter. It would have been nice to just work with the catalytic converter and the front pipe, because that one has never been apart. But I can turn the muffler. The muffler is not tight on the catalytic converter, so I can put that anywhere I want. So let's go to the front and see if we can get this pipe in with clearance. By moving this catalytic converter, I can get that downpipe away from that engine mount, but that bolt's in the way, and we can move that bolt. So let's move the bolt. This is the bolt I'm talking about. If I turn it around, then the head is up here, and this doesn't stick out, and it will clear the pipe. What I'm doing here is double nutting the stud so that I can screw the stud into the manifold. So we put 2 nuts on there, tighten them against each other, then we can use that to tighten the stud into the exhaust manifold. These studs are too long. I'm going to have to take them back off and cut them, but for now they'll work just fine. Currently, the exhaust system is hanging by this clamp back here, and it's just finger tight. So let's see what happens if we bring this up into the position that it's going to be in when everything is tight. Okay. We actually do have some clearance now. Not a lot, but there is clearance there. I think we're down to having to flatten that pipe just a little bit, and maybe we'll take a little bit off the rubber mount. What we have to do now is mark where we want to flatten the pipe, and that's not all that easy. This is the high point. This right here is where we are closest. We're plenty far away from the mount, but there's this right here. Okay, that means we have to take this out of here. We take these studs out the same way we put them in. We double nut it and use the nuts to take the stud out. With the studs removed, we can shorten them. with the studs shortened, we can install them, and with them shortened and deep burred, the nuts will go on real smooth. I've changed my mind. I don't like the idea of restricting the exhaust any more than it already is. So what's my options? If I raise the motor, I'd have clearance. If I lowered the motor mount but maintained the engine height, I'd have clearance. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a section of the pipe out right here. Right here at the very top, it's a straight pipe for about 1 inch. Then we go into a bend, and then we're in straight pipe again. Doesn't do me any good to take a section out here. Can't take a section out in a bend because that'll change the angle and the pipe is not formed in the same shape. So I think I have to take it out here. So what I'm going to do is take a 1/2 inch out right there where the pipe is round, and that'll raise this up, and maybe that gives us enough clearance. Off comes the muffler. Let's try again. That worked. We want to draw some reference lines so that we can put this thing back together in the same orientation that we take it apart. That should be good. Let's cut this pipe. Now I got to be careful to be far enough down so that I clear those notches. Otherwise, once it starts cutting a pipe, I won't be able to cut far enough into the pipe. No, all we got to do is put that back on there like that. What I have here is the section that we cut out, and the welder is still set for the welding I did on the side of the car, which ought to be a pretty good setting for this. Let's just check it. I don't like that. Let's go a little more wire speed. Try that. I think we need more heat. We want penetration. We don't want it to sit up on top. That's better. Okay, I like that. Now we'll clean an area on the pipe. And like where it's sitting and it's aligned, let's put a tack on it. Let's go try it. I've bolted the shortened downpipe back to the exhaust manifold, and now we have nice clearance. We'll be just fine. Let's finish welding it up. We'll perform a light test and plug up any holes. There's one right there. And there's one right there. There we go. Well, what's happened here is the exhaust pipe is in a different orientation, which gives us plenty of clearance here at the front, but now the catalytic converter is tilted. So what I'm going to do is take it back off, apply some heat, and see if I can't turn the catalytic converter so it's flat. We got the old muffler off of this catalytic converter without too much damage. All I want to do here now is rotate this catalytic converter by about 10 degrees this way so it's flat in the vehicle again. I think we need to apply some heat to do that. There we go. With the down tube firmly bolted in place, we now have plenty of clearance here in the front after we took out that 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch of the down tube. Now we can move further back and we're clear here. We got plenty of clearance there. We do have clearance at the bell housing and back to the catalytic converter. I have the catalytic converter sitting on a jack at about the height that would hang from the hanger. And I was able to free it up so that I can turn it. So we can get it dead flat, and we can even move it a little bit side to side. I think it's time to put the muffler on and maybe the hanger, because we have a clearance problem between the muffler and the shock here that we've got to look at. If I put this hanger in the stock location, we're dead up against the shock. And the reason that is because this is an Old Man Emu oversized shock. If it was a normal stock shock, I wouldn't have a clearance problem there. What I can do is move the system over about 1 inch, and that gives me clearance here. So that's what I'm going to do. That means for right now I'm going to have 1 bolt here, but I'm going to make a new bracket that'll take both bolts and move the suspender over. I'm not going to do that now. I want to continue on with the pipes to get clearance. So let me put a bolt in here, and then let's see where we're at. So let's take a close look at our clearance here. Looks like we got enough clearance now. I think we're on to the tailpipe. With the muffler orientated so it's flat and away from the shock, I've put this tailpipe in, and it actually fits pretty good, just like that, except for the rear hanger here. Now I can bring it up a little bit, but that's about as far as up as I'd want to come before it hits the frame, and I still have clearance around the tank. So the problem now is this right here. And we have a bend right here. If I was to make that bend more pronounced, that would bring the tailpipe up, and we'd still have clearance in the frame and tank area. So I think that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to heat this area right here, and we're going to bend it. Now I want to be careful. I don't want to kink it, and I don't want to bulge it. So we're just going to heat it evenly and try to get a couple degrees out of it. Let's try that. With the pipe cool, and it is amazing how well that paint held up, let's feed it in here and see what we have. Alright, that's all the way into the muffler. And now let's hang it from the hanger. It goes up there. Before we couldn't even get it up there. Let's put the clamp on it. Everything is loose in the system, although it's in its correct position, except for the downpipe in the front. We have clearance there between the gas tank and the tailpipe. If we come up here, we have clearance between the tailpipe and the frame. We move a little bit further forward, and we have clearance between the muffler and the shock. We move further forward, and we have clearance, although it's a little tight, to that rubber bumper there. And moving all the way forward, we have clearance here. And we didn't restrict the pipe anywhere by taking a hammer to it. Now, the whole system has to come back out, and we need to repaint it because I've marred it all up. And while we're waiting for the paint to dry, we'll make this bracket. So here's everything that needs to be repainted. This still does not come apart. Although I can turn it, I can't separate it. But that's okay. That's all I need to be able to do is to turn it to put it at the right angle in the Jeep. This can go in the oven and be heat treated. This can go in the oven and be heat treated. This can go in the oven and be heat treated. And this last heat shield can go in the oven and be heat treated. The only thing I cannot heat treat is the catalytic converter and the downpipe, and we'll have to do that heat treat on the vehicle when it's running. I think we'll take some 220 sandpaper and slightly go over everything. This is the same paint that I used earlier that survived the use of the torch. So we're just going to put a light coat on top of this, and then we're going to oven cure the parts that we can cure. And now we've been all the way around. We'll let them air dry for a while, and we'll go start working on that bracket. This bracket that we want to make wants to move the production bracket over one bolt hole, so it moves the exhaust system over, so it clears the old man emu shocks. So let's bolt this up and try to make a rough pattern. We'll cut this poster board down a little bit to size. We'll make the bracket a little more interesting by making it not square. So now our bracket looks like that. The holes are 1¼ inches apart, center to center. And the way I do that is I measure from the outside to the inside, and that gives me the same measure as center to center, and it's very easy to do. So that's 1¼ inches. So 1¼ inches apart. So we got one set of holes marked. Now all we got to do is make the other side, mark the other side. Nice and square like. We can mark these holes. And these holes are 1, 2, 3 inches apart. Exactly 3 inches apart. I know you really can't see this, but what I'm going to do here is measure the distance from the edge to the edge of the circle. And I have a 1/2 inch. And on this one, I have a 1/2 inch also. So the circles are lined up correctly, so we can draw a center line through the circles. That should be square to the edge. That's 3/4 inch, and that's 3/4 inch. So we can replicate that on a piece of metal. And we know that they're 3 inches apart exactly. So this is 3, this is 1 and 3. So we're off by just a little bit. I have a nice thick piece of metal here. It'll take all the stress that muffler system's ever going to put on it. So let's make a piece out of that. Let's use as much of the corner as we can, because we know that's square. We can draw our pattern on this side. And we can center punch these two holes. Take our pattern off. Let's circle our holes. There's one right there. There's one right there. And there we have our piece. Let's smooth out these edges a little bit. I have our bracket clamped in the vise, and we're going to drill some 1/8 inch holes in the punch marks that we made earlier with our pattern. The final hole size for the muffler hanger and the bolts on the frame are both the same size, and that hole is 11/32 of an inch. So we'll drill some 11/32 of an inch holes. To finish our holes off, to make it look nice, we'll put a little bevel on each one. Then we have our bracket with holes with nice smooth edges. Now sandblast and powder coat. With all our pieces freshly painted and cured, and our new bracket sandblasted and powder coated, that's going to replace the original bracket so that we move the exhaust system over an inch so that we clear the old man Emu shocks. I think we're now ready to install the system for the final time. The system is rock solid. I can shake the whole vehicle with the tailpipe. So I don't think we're going to have any rattles. Let's fasten the emergency brake cables in. And the far one, the passenger side, goes into the top hole. And we'll put the clip on there before we put the bottom one in, so it's not in our way. We waited until the exhaust system was in our way. Okay, now let's put the driver's side in. And now we'll put the equalizer bar on. And put the retaining cotter pin in. Another small task done. We keep getting these small tasks done and we'll get the big task done. I think our next task is going to take too long to put on this tape. And it's probably going to involve a roadworthy rescue rebuild. But we'll put that off for another day. Right now, I think we've met our goals. We've got the transfer case shifter installed, and we have the entire exhaust system installed. So we met our goals. If you enjoyed this video, there will be more.